Hello band, here we are again, this time for a rehearsal video of Autumn Leaves, the Joseph Kosma melody set to music in a masterful fashion for band by Alfred Reed. We've played this before, we polished it a bit, and we were certainly getting there as a band. You guys were sounding great, so I don't think it's going to be very difficult for you to play through and make a solid recording. Now, the reason that we're here today is to give us the opportunity to go over some of those finer points and also to practice together recording to the backing track and the backing click. This piece, if you've tried already, the click track is not a metronome, right? It's not. It is the inner toe tap that has been synced to the backing recording that we are using, which is anything but steady. So my point here is that as you record, you're listening, but at slow tempo, you must be subdividing. You must be subdividing to have a shot at accuracy, right? And then additionally, you have to be watching that recording, the video that goes along to the audio that you're listening to, because my job there as a conductor is to keep you synced up with the recording, even in the push and pull sections, which pretty much everything is push and pull except for the con moto section, which is fairly steady. So, you know, these phrases all follow a very similar pattern, and it's beautiful to see how Reed does this. And think of the title when you're listening to these phrases, falling leaves, dead leaves in French. This is it's a song that is full of despair, but the phrase, you know, it's a duet initially on most of these phrases, right? Between melody and counter melody. One is not secondary. So if you are playing melody, if you start first, which always happens in these phrases, make sure you leave room for the counter melody. Typically, melody is holding out when counter melody is moving, right? And so when you're playing a held note, get out of the way just a little bit so you can hear the running notes in the counter melody. And so these things alternate back and forth until typically the end of the 4-measure phrase, when there's kind of an ensemble rhythm, usually an ensemble crescendo, and at the climactic moment of the phrase we land together and fall away, staggered releases usually into the next phrase where it happens again. So the structure of these phrases is really beautiful. It is thematic. It is it's the motif of the piece, right? The falling leaves. You can hear that happen rhythmically, dynamically, also melodically. There's a couple of fragments in here that introduce dissonance on a downbeat, a suspension that resolves. Anytime that happens in your melodic line, lean on the dissonance and then relax off into the resolution. We'll point those out a couple times as they happen, but those are some general concerns for you to watch out as we go through this rehearsal video. Subdivide and watch. Those are the primary concerns. We're going to get started. We're going to run through from the top, stopping, going back, stopping, going back. Something that frustrates you no end when we do it in person. But here, I have a captive audience. So stop when I do. You don't really have an option, do you? Here we are. We are going to start with the count in. Just like the Stars and Stripes video, this has a lead in where we will do an ensemble clap. This time around, it's 1/8 count of preparation and then the clap, followed by the second 8 count to get your instruments up and ready for the downbeat of Autumn Leaves. We're at a very slow tempo, so that you will need to be subdividing and you will have plenty of time. Let's give it a shot here. Let's rehearse this opening and see where we are. and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and clap. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ready, play. Stop there. What a beautiful opening, right? It really doesn't get much better than that, except for all the other phrases in the piece. All right, so you got the idea of the count. Now, what I'm going to do when we rehearse through this video is I am going to leave the click on so that you get used to playing to the click. Because it's going to be very difficult for me to stay with the music without the click, and for you to stay with me and for everything to lock in. So I'm going to leave the click on, but I will be able to turn it down significantly. We'll see how that goes, see if that's any better. So we're going to start at the beginning. So the things to consider here are, first of all, subdivide. If you're in low brass, low reeds, measure 1, make sure you're playing and 3. Okay, it's different from the one at the end. 1E and a 2E and a 3. A couple of you have a triplet figure there. It fits in the same space. It does not start earlier. It still starts on the and. Okay, and we all land on 3 together. So it just muddies it up a little bit grammatically. It's beautiful. 1E and a 2E and a 3. And then hold all the way through measure 2 until you release on the downbeat of measure 3. Okay, releases in slow music, that's where the music is made. The release is got to be accurate. If it's releasing on an 8th note that's on the beat, make sure you allow the beat to ring just a little bit before you cut it off. That's what they want. That's why they notate it that way. Otherwise, if it's a release on a rest that's on the downbeat, you are off right at that beat. No sound actually on the beat. So accuracy here is very, very important with entrances, with releases. Let's go ahead and run this opening one more time. Pay particular attention to measure 5. For those of you who are getting there in the phrase, that's the climax of your phrase, and then you're decrescendoing out of it all the way down. It's a dramatic decrescendo down to piano for the release. If you are coming in on beat 2, you're coming in forte, and then you're off the next beat on a piano. So it is a ba, but it's not accented. It's a solid forte that just decays and is gone in the space of a beat. All right, here we are from the top. Crescendo melody, hold the whole note, and off. Flutes. Everyone else, hold the note, crescendo if you have it, and 1, 2, off. 4 and 1. Trumpet. 2 and 3. 1, 2. Don't rush the 16th notes. Bells. And dissonance. Release. Bells. And 4 and 1. Okay, good. So those were those little melody fragments that I was calling out in the horns and in the trombones, measures 9 and 10. Just a note here. You will see letters. I will try to refer to letters. I have a different edition of score here, which has measure numbers. So the recording video actually calls out numbers. I've given you the translation in an email and also on the description of the recording video. It's down there in the in the description of it. So go ahead and pencil in numbers just in case. That will help you. And I will, like I said, I'll try to call out letters as well as numbers as we go through this. I want to go back one more time to the top, to the opening, and do this one more time. Make sure you shape all of these fragments, dramatically shape them, okay? What did I want to point out that time? Oh, trumpet, the trumpet solo. And that brings me to a good point, please. Everyone, if your part has a solo in it, play the solo. I will, go through and pick which one or a combination of them sounds best. But I want everyone to give me a good take on that solo. If it's divisi and solo is top line, but you're covering bottom line, play bottom line. But if it's one part all together in the music and there's a solo in there, or one player only, two player only, play it. And I'll cut you out as needed. So, trumpet. Your solo here, a whole note solo in measure 6 that falls away in measure 7. We talked in last rehearsal about allowing that whole note to blossom, to bloom into its release in measure 7. So make sure that comes through, okay? Allow that to happen. And then horn and trombone and bassoon, you have those dissonant fragments going into 11, melodic fragments. Make sure we hear those over everything. Here we are, top. Ready? And. Fragment. Off. 3. 4 and 1. Bullet, triplet, trumpet, release. Alto. Altos and flutes here on the melody. Now horns and trombones. Okay, everyone, here we are at A. A little bit of push and pull here. Listen for the counter melody. Half notes, come down please, and then grow back into it. And off, and 4, and horns, yes. Different version in the counter melody here. Now horn, very important horn part here. 1, 2, and 3, off. Slowly crescendoing in the accompaniments, and everyone is in, and 4, 1, 2, 3. Don't breathe here. Low voices. Off. We're going to stop right there. Good, good, good. Okay, so we had 2 different phrases in there. We played the opening through very nicely. Good job, everyone. At A, we were in A. I did it right. At 11, or A, we're into our kind of rubato push and pull here, the standard melody, melodic, first statement of melody, and then counter melody. Each measure handing off, movement to movement, movement to movement. Make sure if you're playing those half notes, you pull back just a little bit, release on 3, and then pick up into the next half note. That's the phrase of each of those fragments. If you need to catch a breath, you can do that. You can break it to catch a little breath. The big breaths are every 4 measures. The big ensemble phrase breath is every 4 measures at 11 before the pickup into the 5th measure, right? So let's go ahead and start at 11 again. When we get to B, I want to make sure that we are aware that we're all doing a slow crescendo here. The melody fragments are stacking on top, but the accompaniment in the horns, you guys are really driving this offbeat pulse into measure 21, 3 after B, where we're all together at the end of that phrase. Again, this is one of those, the structure that I was talking about, where the phrase is fragmented at the beginning and then all comes together for a full ensemble climax that then falls away at the end of the phrase. So here we are, we're starting at 11, which is A. Here we are. Pickups, pickups. 1, 2, 3. Counter melody in the euphoniums and the trombones and the bassoons. Crescendo right here, and hold this. Off. That was your phrase break, everyone. Three, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 3. Horns, you're driving us. Horns, everyone's all together, and 4, 1. That comes way down. Here it is again, counter melody and the horns and the altos. Everyone, 4 and 1. Everyone, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to stop there, everyone. Great. That's the con modo section, which is very similar to our stuff at A, right? Except we're picking up the pace. We've got a set in underneath the rhythm, but similar structure. We're going to go back. B was good. Horns, I think you understand how at B you're driving us forward with that crescendo. Everyone after B, 3 after B, there is a little bit of stretch on that beat 4. We all have that dotted 8th note, measure 21, 3 after B. There's a little bit of stretch there and release into the decrescendoing dotted half on measure 22, right? But it's nowhere near as long of a hold as the fermata that we have later that's in a similar place, okay? So feel that stretch, 1, 2, 3, and let it come back down. We're gonna go ahead and start there, actually. We're gonna go ahead and start at B and then get into the con modo section. At C, when we get there, we need to hear clarinet 2. Clarinet 2, you have a moving line that complements the oboe solo here. And you are as important as the solo. We very rarely hear that. The solo will come through just nicely, but you need to bring that moving line out when we get there. For the oboe player, the pickups are at the previous tempo, and at 27 we start to push. Right at 27 things pick up. Ba da 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 da. Okay? So here we are at B, everyone. Pick up. Yep. Pickups to B. 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. Growing, growing. Here we are. Feel the stretch on 4. And stretch a 1, 2. Counter melody, melody hold. There you go. 2, 3. Now quietly. 4 and 2 and horns have melody here. 1, 2, 3. 4 and 1 and clarinet 2. these held notes don't die though. They need to go all the way to the release on the downbeat. Now watch the beats here, and 1, 2, 3. Good. Good, good, good. We are all doing a 1, 2, 3. There's a little break before F. We're going to talk about that when we get there, but we're going back. We're going back to the con modo section. I want to let you hit this one more time, and then we're going to get into through the break and get into the section at F. So we're back at D, pickups into D. We'll go measure before D. If you have the full melody line that goes up, ba da ba da da da, important. If you have the line that goes all the way down, bum 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 bum, important. If you have the stuff in between, ba da 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 da, whatever it might happen to be, you are harmony. Okay, so we're making this sandwich of diverging lines. And we need to hear top, we need to hear bottom, middle, you're filler. I love you, but you're the lettuce. You're not the star of the hamburger here. Okay, so that's a very bad analogy, because then I would be saying that the bread is the star of the hamburger, which is very rarely the case. And if it is, you're at the wrong restaurant. But anyway, so top top and bottom, we need to hear you. Middle, folks who don't change that much, you're less important. And then all of you need to get out of the way for the counter melody, which happens on your whole notes, right? But don't let it die. So there's this delicate balance that we all have to find between finding enough sound that the sound persists and carries and goes all the way to the downbeat and isn't clipped short when we get to that downbeat, but also something that is out of the way for our horns and our altos to shine at D. So here we are, measure before D. Yep, measure before D. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, horns and altos. Now bring this one down a little bit, except for horns and altos, and off. Now make sure we can hear this half note articulated. Articulate. Yeah, let each of those half notes kind of bloom a little bit so we can hear that it's different than the whole note. Now here's our decrescendo. 1, 2, 3. Everyone, here we are. And off right there. Good. Okay, so the break before F is important. Basically what I'm doing is I am cutting everyone off on 3. The measure before F. Okay, so that's what I do in the recording video. It's what I'm doing right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. All right, so there's just that little bit of hesitation before beat 4, which is our pickup into F. Let's practice that one more time so we can all be clean with that cutoff on 3. Here we are, measure before E. Measure before E. Yep, here we are. Here we are, going down. Horns. And 1, 2, 3. 4 and 1 and 2. Tenors. everyone. Here's our beat 4, hold. And tenors again. Tenors and euphoniums on that counter melody. Off. Okay, so we're not going to go on. That's tricky there before H, right? That's tricky. But this is a perfect example at G. We're gonna roll back to F, but this is a perfect example at G and F of the form of the phrasing that I was talking about, where it's about 3 measures, staggered, alternating melody, counter melody that all comes together to climax and then falls away, staggered releases, and kind of melds into the next phrase with the pickups that usually take us into the next phrase. It's absolutely beautiful writing. I love seeing every different way that Reed does this, because each of these phrases is basically the same structure, and yet they're all so dramatically different. So let's go back to F, please. I'm talking an awfully lot. Here we are, pickups into F, the bassoons, the tenors, and especially the euphonium. Euphonium, you actually come in before the bassoons and the tenors, right at F, and you are the only one, euphonium, with that melodic fragment, which is very important. So please play it out, and then tenors and bassoons join you, the second measure of F. Here we are at F, looking for that phrasing and the falling away. Pick up into F. Euphonium. Tenors and bassoons. Horns. Here's 4. All the way to B4 there. And 1, 2, 3. Marcato. Everything is separated here. Everything is separated and accurate. Dramatic broadening, dramatic, and a little accel. 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, can't get there yet. We need to run that at G. One more time, run that at G. Just style-wise, make sure everything is separated, even the half notes. A little gap between everything. Everything is accented. Marcato, not super short. Da, da, da. That's not what we're after. Ba, 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 ba. All right? And then the most important thing is 2 before H. Actually, it starts with the allegando at 4 before H. Allegando, broadening, right? So we have 2 beats of broadening, and it's a pretty dramatic broadening into our broadly. And that is quite slowed down. So we will need to do that together. That's going to be potentially the most ragged section of the piece. It's kind of tough to predict exactly what's happening. So you might want to run through that a couple times just to get a really good feel for how much it pulls back at the allegando and how much dramatically slower the broadly section it is. And then at the accel, it's not really actually an accel. It's more like just instantly a bit faster. And then most important at the accelerando is beat 4. And 4 and up 1. If you are articulating that, if you're a brass player, that rhythmic ensemble rhythm is very important. You're going up against triplets, which is I love it. He does that a couple places, right? I mean, here's another one of them. But we need to hear that driving into the sforzando. And 4 and 1. All right, that's how we know we're all together when we get there. And then trombones, as you recall, Trombones here measure before H. You are the only ones who hold over the entire measure. You are the connecting fabric from this phrase from G into H. You're the connecting fabric there. So feel free to play. It says pianissimo. Feel free to play that at an MP or so. Give a good solid sound to that chord. And watch. The change on beat 3 is tricky. And so just watch the stick for that 3. All right? That way we can all get it together and I don't have to edit you too much. Side note, I can do a lot of things to change the sound. Put in breaths, slide where your beats are landing, adjust tuning. Don't make me do that because it takes a long time. And if I have to do that for 40 people in a section, that's, 5 hours down the drain there. So let's record it as accurately as you can, within reason. As I've mentioned a couple times, if you're a perfectionist, this process it can really bog you down quickly. So resist those perfectionist urges. Find the balance between a take that you can live with, that gives me something solid to work with, but that doesn't drain away an entire day or more from you trying to get it right. G. Let's go back. Pick up to G. That's pick up to the marcato. Separated, broadening, broadly, and then instantly faster at the accelerando. If you are playing that trill in the woodwinds, the high woodwinds, followed by the quintuplets, sextuplets to land at the molto rit, make sure that is a true SFZ P. Okay? You hit the note, then you fall back and just let it linger for 2 beats before the big flourish to help that effect land. But the primary driver there is the rhythm and the brass. All right, I've talked a lot about this section. Here we are. Pick up into G. 1 and 2 and... Did you start? I hit the wrong button. My bad. 1 and 2 and 3. And triplet 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and triplet 3 and 4 and 1, a 2, 3 and 3 and a 1. It's a beautiful ending. Let's go back to H. Pickups into H. It's really a beautiful ending. Trombones are holding us through. Clarinet solo. You've got very drawn out 8th note pickups into H. And then alto, clarinet 2. At H, your line, we've been waiting for this. This is the chromatic dissonant fall of the leaves. We haven't seen this fragment anywhere yet, and it is beautiful the way that falls away from the melody. So please, alto and clarinet 2, bring that line out. And then the gliss in our tuba and our string bass, that gliss is basically the same thing as the triplet fall in the alto and the clarinet 2. So make sure that comes out. And then everyone, low brass, bassoons, tenors, euphoniums. You have those 30-second notes, right? So it is different than the beginning. 1E and a 2E and ba. It is on the okay? All the way. 1E and a 2E and ba. Make sure you wait and make sure you land on the beat. Don't be late. Land on the beat, but wait for the little, it's just a little grace note essentially, but definitely rhythmically precise there. And then once again, follow the dynamics with all these melodic fragments. That's the dissonant, suspension, and release, right? Each time that happens. Here we are. H, pickups into it. I think I'm in the right spot. Yep. 1 and 2 and 3. Alto. Lean. 2. Lean. Euphonium. 2. Subdivide. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and... Great. Great. It's really beautiful when it all comes together, isn't it? All right, I have a few seconds in my 30-minute mark. I want to go ahead and run. Let's start from the con moto. Let's give you a con moto to the end. And then we'll be finished with the rehearsal video for Autumn Leaves. So con moto is D. There we go. Measure before D. Measure before D. Half notes. Here's your whole note. It kind of dies, right? Here's your half notes. And it lives again. That's the difference. Here's your decrescendo. Remember, we're off on 3. 1, 2, 3. 4 and 1 and euphonium. Tenors and bassoons. Oboes. And everyone, here's our stretch. Tenors and euphoniums again. And falling away. Marcato. Marcato. Here's our allegando. Slowing down a lot. And here's our faster. 3, E, 4, E, and a 1. Altos, all the way. Ba, da, da. A 3, a 3. Euphoniums. Don't forget to subdivide. I did that wrong. Sorry, guys. Well, there you have it. I certainly hope that was helpful. I love this. I'm so good. This was Missy's pick. This was part of Missy's program during the audition cycle. I was not familiar with it. I'll be honest. I had never heard it. I'd never performed it, and boy, am I glad I learned about this. And so are at least 3 other directors that I've introduced this to. It's getting programmed quite a lot in the bands that I'm involved with, because boy, what a gem. What a gem. And especially for our audiences, it's nostalgic. It's that a little bit of despair, a little bit of hope, yearning for the the good times, perhaps. I'm not sure. But it strikes a chord in anyone, I think. And so I love it. I hope you've enjoyed rehearsing it with me, and good luck recording it precisely, musically, beautifully. I'll hear you soon.